I see we're live, but I'm going to wait a few minutes just to see if Attorney Hicken and Auditor Powers will join us, which I'm expecting them to.
I seem to have some difficulty when Molly talks. I don't know if anybody else has it on the volume. Does anybody else have a problem with that? It's just her when
Huh.
yeah, I don't know. So
It doesn't stand out in my memory, but I'll pay attention and see.
Yeah.
I know we each with our audio settings, we each have mic and speaker
right.
control, so maybe there's something we can do there.
Yeah, so I make sure that mine is at 100%, which it is. So
Oh, never checked.
anyway, have an audio check.
Yeah. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Brisk this morning, but a little warmer in the courthouse than yesterday.
Good.
Quite a lot warmer.
So Molly, we were just talking, I had a little bit of trouble with the audio last time, so talk a little bit. I think it's better now.
Okay, I can talk about our ride-in this morning was great, and I had my kids got these watches that can make phone calls, so they each called their grandparents this morning on the way to school. I'm pretty sure they woke up my dad, but
that's better. The audio is better for me. Thank you.
Yep.
Great.
And I see that Auditor Powers joined us now, so I will call this meeting to order. 8:32 on Tuesday, February 9th, the regular board meeting of the Cook County Commissioners, where we are quality public service. Please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? I don't see any.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes, please.
I should let this group know that I do have a court hearing. It's at 10:30, I think. And so I'm hoping that we will be out of the closed session by then. But if not, I might need to duck out and leave that to Kendra Olson, our outside counsel. I think she'd be perfectly fine.
All right, so that sounds like we might want to make an adjustment to the agenda. In a previously published agenda, I had noticed that your item under attorney was closer to the beginning, and then in a more recently revised one, it's towards the end here. Is that, I mean, I guess it would be really nice. We have a number of people on the call here.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please, Administrator Yorkie.
I had, based on past experience, I had moved that item to the end simply because I thought I didn't want to keep all the other folks who are presenting waiting through that item. But if there's a reason to move it forward, we can certainly do that.
All right. What I would propose, and we'll see how everyone feels about this, is just moving items under attorney just after emergency operations command update. Is that agreeable to everyone? If so, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. And if so, could we get a motion to amend the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And to be clear, is that a motion to approve the amended agenda, Commissioner Storley?
Yes.
Okay, and Commissioner Hawkins, that was your understanding as well? Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Storley,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is an aye as well, approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we have public comment period. Have we received any correspondence in either email or letters for public comment? Or is there anyone present in the courthouse to give public comment?
Mr. Chairman, we have received no public comments.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 3, the consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Commissioner Hawkins.
I would like to pull item H, please, and I would like some clarification about item C.
Okay. I guess I'd suggest pulling item C as well then. And we can put item C under under the auditor section of the agenda. And then as far as item H is concerned, I guess we'll put that under the administrator section. That being said, is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I will make the motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there a second?
Sullivan seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hawkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Storley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you. And that brings us on down to Emergency Operations Command update. I see both Mike and Grace are here joining us. Grace, would you like to start?
Sure, I'm happy to. So things are looking good in the world of our COVID response these days. Our positivity rate has gone way down. So we're at 1.1% for our positivity rate, and we have not had a new case in over a week, which is fantastic. So our focus has been vaccination. Last week, we had a very busy week for vaccination, supporting some smaller events at North Shore Health. They vaccinated around between 90 and 100 community members last week. And we had 2 larger events at the community center. We had just over 500 first doses and around 50 second doses. So overall, we did a lot of vaccination last week. And at this point, when we look at the state's dashboard, Cook County has had 32.8% of its residents receiving at least 1 dose of the vaccine. That equals out to 1,740 people. And notably, the focus right now for the state is really on vaccinating childcare, K-12 educators, as well as the population over 65. We have completed vaccination for childcare and K-12 educators, and we've had 75.6% of our residents 65 and over receiving at least 1 vaccine dose. We have another vaccination event set for this Thursday. We're going to be vaccinating 300 people, and that event is open to individuals ages 65 and over. So we still do not have a stable vaccine allocation, which makes planning challenging. We'll know Thursdays
how much vaccine we're receiving. And so we can solidify our schedule for the following week on Thursdays between the clinic and public health. Fridays, we put out our Minnesota Responds volunteer sign up. And then Monday, we have our registration go live and we send out a notification to the public on who's eligible to receive the vaccine that week. So it all comes together very quickly at the end of the week. And it's challenging that we don't know more in advance to be able to plan, but I think we're doing the best that we can with the information that we have. The allocation is coming through Sawtooth Mountain Clinic, not through public health. When we look at what each entity is eligible to receive at this point, the county really isn't eligible to receive an allocation because the county allocations are focused on childcare and K-12 educators, and we've already vaccinated that population. However, the Sawtooth Mountain Clinic is eligible to receive vaccine for the 65 and older population. And so that's what we've been able to do. So I think it showcases that it really is a strength that we're working together to support one another at the vaccination events. And we're able to receive vaccine and get it out there more quickly because of the partnership we have with Sawtooth Mountain Clinic. So I think it's been, the events have gone well. I think 300 people is our limit for coming through the community center. What we're realizing is, especially with the cold weather, we just can't have people waiting outside. So we can't have people crowded together either. So we have a overflow kind of socially distanced waiting in the community center before you get down into the curling rink area. Otherwise, I think the flow it's been pretty steady. I mean, sometimes people come in waves, coming up a little bit early or late for their appointments, but overall, I think the flow has been going well, and 300 people is about all the space can bear for a full day clinic. So that's kind of where we've landed for, if we're able to get that amount of vaccine, then that's the size event that we've been planning at this point. And that is really been the sole focus of public health in the past couple of weeks here. That's what we've been doing. We've been planning vaccination events and helping people come in and get through the process. The online registration has been going well. We do have people who struggle with internet access or the technical kind of skills to register online, but we do have a number of entities in the community trained to help over the phone. So people can call the COVID hotline, they can call public health, they can call the PHHS main office, and we can help them register over the phone. And that's been a huge time saver. It's allowed us to really do a bigger volume of people using that online registration system. So yeah, overall, I think things are going well. I was a little nervous with the weather last Thursday, but we had a full clinic. We had a few cancellations, but really nothing too bad. And we were able to use our wait list to use every last dose. So that's what I've got.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Grace?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Oh, I see Commissioner Hawkins first, and then I'll call on you, Commissioner Sturley.
So I'm wondering about the school personnel. You said educators. Does that include everybody that works at the school?
It does, everybody.
Good, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Sturley.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, everything went so smooth at the community center. It was well organized, and you sat with your little timer for 15 minutes at the end, and you were out the door with your granola bar. Grace, it went really, really well. And I've heard from some folks here in the West End who were grateful that they could call in and make their appointment since they didn't have computer access. So, thumbs up. It's all going good, and hopefully it'll continue. So thank you so much for your work.
Thank you, Commissioner Sturley. I had a question, Grace, just something that caught my ear. just about the allocations with the county versus the clinic, and the clinic still has doses available because of the 65 and up population. So that implies that once we, assuming, or what is the threshold where we don't get, is it 100% 65 and up, and then we don't get more vaccine until the state catches up, or how does that work?
That is an excellent question, Commissioner Mills, and it's something that honestly we're not sure about. We're looking for more clarification from the states. So I think we're the first county to kind of reach that saturation point, and I don't know that the state knows yet. So it's something, because the allocation comes through the community health center avenue rather than the county, that Kate Serba, the director at Sawtooth Mountain Clinic, is following up on with her contact people at the Minnesota Association of Community Health Centers and MDH. But yeah, that is a big unknown. Are we going to be able to keep going at the current pace, or are we going to wind up kind of slowing down and waiting for the rest of the state to catch up?
Interesting. Well, thank you, and well, just keep us posted. And thank you for your work. I don't know the language you used, but you said, I think we're doing pretty well. And you know, when we're looking at the numbers around the state, that's a huge understatement. We're doing outstanding, and thank you so much for the work there, and all the community volunteers and all of our staff. It's just really incredible and great to see, and it's just an excellent example for others to follow with partnerships and what they can do. So thank you. Any other questions or comments for Grace? Otherwise, Mike Keyport, would you like to give your update, please?
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chair, commissioners, and community members. Just a couple of things. I would very much agree with you, Mr. Chair, that I do think we're doing well. The EOC, as you know, remains open at the community center, and if I could just speak to the community center, that you know, we've used that facility for various things over the years, but it's been, you know, it's just been, I can't say enough about the use of the building and how Diane continues to just juggle all the programs she's got going over there, and puts up with us every day. And now we fill that curling club too. So she doesn't like the recognition, but certainly deserves it. As Grace said, the public health answers phone calls. I answer phone calls in my office, and Jim in the EOC manages the hotline calls. And there's not a ton, but there's plenty of calls. And as Grace said, sometimes we don't have the answers, and it's, you know, it's tough to answer them calls. But having said that, you know, we're doing good, and you know, people, I hope our community members just continue to stay positive and be patient. We're getting there. That's really all I have for you today. Just a non-COVID comment. I'm kind of juggling meetings this morning, but I'll try to stay on the Zoom call should you have questions for me when you get to the FireWise coordinator on your agenda this morning.
Thank you, Mike. And does anyone have any questions or comments for Mike? Short and sweet. Thank you very much. And I would agree with you, Mike, that yeah, having the community center as a resource is paramount to this this response. And I really appreciate having that space, and I really appreciate you working in there and working with Diane and just coordinating everything. So thank you for your good work, Mike. And we'll keep on keeping on here. All right. Let's see. Moving on now. We shuffled things up a little bit. For those who either didn't hear or joined us late, we moved the item under attorney after Emergency Operations Command update. And so maybe I'll just pass it over to you, Attorney Hicken, at this time, and then we'll proceed as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to recommend that the board meet with our attorney, Kendra Olson of Pemberton Law, in a closed session for this agenda item so that we can confer with the board in a confidential setting. The only subjects that will be discussed during that closed session are the development of the defense strategy in what is already pending litigation against the county and in Coleman versus Cook County. And addressing these matters in an open session would have a substantial negative effect on the county to defend itself and protect its rights. Our discussions in closed session will be limited to litigation strategy and no other public business will be addressed. That said, the process for going into a closed session would be that a board member would make a motion and kind of summarize the reasons that I've stated within that motion. We would need a second and a majority vote, and then we can leave this call and go into the Zoom session. All of the commissioners, Brady, James, and Kendra Olson should have received an email from me yesterday, so make sure you have that pulled up and ready to click on that link after you leave this meeting. Any questions?
Forgive me, Attorney Hicken. Well, first off, does any other commissioners have any questions right away? Okay. Otherwise, feel free to ask afterwards. I'm looking for that that specific language as far as the memo is concerned. I mean, I have the gist of it, and I'm very willing to make the motion myself here. And you can correct me if necessary, but I would make the motion to enter into a closed session because, and this is in regards to litigation of Coleman versus Cook County. And the reason for is client attorney privilege.
Mr. Chair, you could refer to section 13D05.
Oh, I see you pulled it up on the screen there. I was wrestling with that. Yes. And referencing in closed session pursuant of Minnesota statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B.
And I would also say, because the county is required to talk about litigation strategy in a confidential setting.
And in regards to attorney client privilege, we are required to talk about litigation strategy in a closed session. So that was cumbersome, but is there a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. Is there any discussion? And I'm adjusting my screen here just so I can see everybody. I don't see any discussion. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Mills votes aye. Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
It's unanimous approval. Thank you very much. And so now we are in a closed session. Once we all just click on that link that Attorney Hicken has sent as far as commissioners and
I'm sorry, do we leave this meeting or just click on the other link?
I think by clicking on the other link, it'll make you leave. But before we discuss anything in that, we will find out. Hello there, Commissioner Storley. There was an email sent from Attorney Hicken with a separate Zoom link. Let's see if, and you're on mute, sorry, so I can't hear you now, but what'll happen is if you can find that email, there'll be a Zoom link we click on, and then it'll prompt you to leave this meeting and join the other one, and you need to click on that.
Well, I'm waiting for that email and I don't see it yet. Does everybody else have it?
Yeah, I'll see if I can forward that on here.
Huh.
Yeah, I will.
No.
But that's no big deal. It'll just take a second here. And I just sent it, so you might want to refresh. This is to the county, your county email address.
Well. Right now, all I see is mobile. Are we still Zooming?
It is a Zoom link,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
Okay,
So there was the regular board meeting Zoom link, and then Attorney
Right.
Hicken sent an email that the title was closed session tomorrow morning, and I forwarded that on
Right.
to you. So I don't know if you can search your
okay.
inbox.
So am I going off now and coming
Well,
back?
before you exit this meeting, I was hoping that you could receive that other link to just make sure. that-
No, all I have is still the statement about that we're closed. That's all I have on my screen. So I don't know how to do it within the system we're already talking.
Oh, I see. Okay, well,
So I think I
If-
better leave and come back in.
okay, so yeah, you can leave and check your email looking for.
Yeah, I did. I have it.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just click on
Okay.
that, and then we'll be good. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
I am going to head off to court. You guys are good to restart the public meeting whenever.
Thank you, Attorney Hicken.
Thank you.
All right. I see Commissioner Starley is here. I see Commissioner Hawkins is here. Commissioner Sullivan, Administrator Yorkie. I don't yet. Oh, and I see Brady is here. Auditor Powers, rather. So I think we can resume our regular meeting now back into the open session. Do we need a motion to resume that? That part I don't know.
To open the closed meeting?
Yes, or to resume our regular meeting.
We could do it.
Yes, I'll make the motion to resume our meeting here if necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Starley. Roll call vote. Commissioner Mills is aye. Commissioner Starley?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Thank you. Pass to open the meeting again. All right. I think next on the agenda is soil and water. If I was, let me scroll back up. Yes, soil and water. Elena, are you with? You are. Thank you for being here and available. And sorry for that delay and change. Attorney Hicken did have a court case at 10:30 that needed attention, and we had the closed meeting. So, but welcome. Thank you again for your patience. And may I hand it over to you at this point?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Mills. I just have a request to have a motion to pass the attached financial reports. The financial reports are part of what's called a natural resource block grant that the county receives and the conservation district receive. I'm bringing it forward because I'm the water planner for the county and for the district. And so part of my responsibilities is to track these funds and just to do the financial reporting and the grant reporting annually for these funds. So associated with the annual reporting, I am required to have financial reports showing what was spent on the funds. Most of the funding does go to land services for their work with septic systems, shorelines, and wetland conservation acts. And the district gets a little bit of funding for water plan and Wetland Conservation Act. So I'm just requesting a motion from the board to approve the financial reports so that I can finish my reporting for the state.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Elena? Commissioner Hawkins.
Yeah, I'm curious about the septic grants, and it looked like from 2018, not all that money was spent, and you had two different ones. I'm just wondering about the difference between those.
Yeah, so there's a FY20 and FY21, and there's a septic grant that is part of the NRBG shoreline grant. And then you'll see that there's also the septic grants that are I think it's called, I don't have it up on my screen, but it's a Fix It Up grant or for lower income folks. And that there should be FY18, 19, and 2020, I believe. And those were extended so that we could try to use all those funds. Those are for people who meet a certain threshold for income to assist them to repair their septic systems. So it's just part of the annual reporting to show what's been spent and what's available for future use until the grant expires.
And so when that grant expires, we have to send that money back that we haven't used. Is that correct?
Correct. Mhm. So the goal is to spend it down.
And how do we advertise that?
I am not sure. I have passed that program back to the county, and so maybe Auditor Brady or Auditor Powers can answer that. I'm not sure.
Auditor Powers, are you available to answer the question of?
I was,
yes, I'm sorry.
yeah, could you repeat the question? I was moonlighting on an email.
Yep. Commissioner Hawkins, Commissioner Hawkins is wondering how we advertise for folks to know about the Fix It Up septic grant.
I'm not sure that we actually advertise it.
So I have some personal experience with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I have to recuse myself from this vote. I did with the last one. I don't know with the reporting if that's a good idea or necessary. But anyways, basically, when you're trying to get a land use permit to do building, there also needs to be septic compliance, and so also there are regular inspections done throughout the county on septic systems, and depending on the age or the construction of the system, they could be out of compliance. And so then my understanding is property owners are made aware of options when working with land services, and the options are our county septic loan as well as these grants. And so I think it's not so much thrown out there as much as brought to the people's attention when these repairs are needed. And perhaps, yeah, Director Nelson can answer better than me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm not sure if it's answering better than you, but just filling in some more information. We do have that Lakeshore Septic Compliance Program and a number of inspections that we do complete based off of triggers for permits and other things. And we do steadily send that information out about all those, the loan opportunities and such like that to everybody that's caught up in those inspections, in particular if their system needs to be upgraded. So that word does get out. It's targeted information. We don't just kind of blanket advertise that, but we do put that out to everybody that falls into those categories of needing to be upgraded.
Yes, Elena.
I am also aware that the contractors are very good about sharing the message and the word that this is available to landowners.
That seems like an efficient way to communicate. I can see some advantages to having that blanket because we may not catch everybody that needs it, but I think oftentimes funds run out, and so really targeting the people that need it with the non-compliant systems, I think, is a pretty efficient way to go about that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Elena, and thank you, Tim. Any other questions? And thank you, Brady. Sorry, I didn't mean to. All right, no other questions. So again, I have been the recipient of grant funds for bringing my system into compliance. And so I believe I do have to recuse myself from this. I would look for a motion, though.
I would like to move that we do the block grant financial reports, make that motion.
Thank you. We do have a motion from Commissioner Sullivan. Is there a second?
Storley.
Go ahead.
Oh, Commissioner Storley has the second. Thank you. And we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Storley?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
And Commissioner Mills must abstain. The motion does pass. Thank you very much, Elena. And looks like that's it for you at this meeting. Good to see you. Take care. Moving on to MIS, we have Rena Rogers, yes, and Rowan Watkins both. Welcome. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Good morning. So this is approval for a lease for cell service on the Sawbill Tower. It's a three-way lease between AT&T and MnDOT and ourselves. And this is an option that we've had for a while, but this is the first time we've actually executed one of these. So when we own the land and MnDOT builds an armor tower on that land, our lease agreement allows them to be on the land for free. However, because we use that service, obviously, the armor service for our public safety. But if by chance they end up leasing a spot on that tower, we split the revenue 50-50. So this is the first time that's actually happened. We would expect it to happen again in the future. This particular lease, because of its three-way nature, it has AT&T paying us directly our share of that rather than going back through MnDOT. It's a 5-year lease. I'm not sure why it's only a 5-year lease, but it's a 5-year lease. Our half of the revenue will be to start with $12,780 a year. And each year that will go up by 3.5%. So the request today is to approve this lease. And I don't know if Rowan, if you have anything you'd like to add.
Nope, that's it. It's a co-location on an existing tower, adding services to infrastructure that already exists. And it's infrastructure that the county doesn't have a responsibility for maintaining. So it's just an added service and a little bit of additional revenue for the county.
And it does, the location of the Sawbill Tower is out on the west end of the grade. So this will provide good connectivity for our sheriff's department out there in their squad cars, which they don't have now because this is a FirstNet service and for our first responders.
Thank you. Yeah, emergency services and public safety at large there. Mm-hmm. Do any commissioners have any questions?
The only thing I would say is, Rena, you gave, and Rowan, you gave us a big packet to go through. Please, thank you.
Yeah,
is there any highlights we need to know about?
No. It's
okay.
Once you involve 3 entities in a contract process, that's a lot of lawyers. So
yeah, that's right.
Just going to say that.
Thank you.
Since Attorney Higgins not there, I'll get to say that.
Well, and for myself, I just want to thank you for your work on this. And I know most of the work, I presume, was in the past, but still it does take work to get each individual agreement together. So I really appreciate that. But just having this plan, this network, it really speaks volumes. And we hear that or I hear that at least in the public safety world at AMC when I'm there, just about the importance and how impressive this is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, can I get a motion to approve the 3-way lease with AT&T and MnDOT?
I'd like to move to approve the 3-way lease with AT&T and MnDOT for the cell service on the Sawbill Tower.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Starley, support.
Thank you, Commissioner Starley. Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Starley?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Have a great day. All right, moving on down to Land Services here. We have Director Tim Nelson back in the meeting. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. What we have here, and I have with me is in the background, there's Randy Knudsen. Oh, he popped up now. And this is kind of a routine thing for the county, and so routine, I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this is actually a resolution in support for a snowmobiles trail, the club for the Federal Recreation Trails Program grant. And this is for some equipment, and this is just a resolution of support for that. This is for equipment for trail grooming and maintenance and such. And I say that it's as common as it is when I was looking through the agenda, I did notice that later on under the auditor's office that Auditor Brady Powers has also a FRTP grant resolution of support for a bicycle trails grant. And I communicated with Brady this morning about it. And I see in that grant that he's going to be presenting, he's listed as the fiscal agent, and in the grant that or the resolution of support that had come through us. And I say us because we had discussed it at the Parks and Trails Commission meeting back on January 25th, and the Parks and Trails Commission unanimously supports the grants and the projects as well. But they had this resolution lists me as the fiscal agent, and it really makes more sense to list Auditor Powers as the fiscal agent, since adding me just adds another step in the processing in acting as fiscal agent. So I actually edited out that the resolution that you have in your packet and sent April an updated one that does list Brady as the fiscal agent, and he is fine with that. At least he said so earlier.
Well, I'll hold him to that. All right, are there any questions for Director Nelson? Commissioner Hawkins.
Thank you, Tim, for that clarification. That was one of my questions. Why was two departments? So I looked up these kind of grants, and it looks like Cook County gets multiple ones every year. And I wondered why the bike trail didn't go through the Parks and Trails Commission. Is that standard, or is this some new process? Does it help to have it go through the Parks and Trails and get their blessing also?
And Mr. Chair and Commissioner Hawkins, that is a very good question. And I can only state by virtue of the fact that the Parks and Trails Commission is a recent kind of addition within the last few years, that everything hasn't quite shifted over to going through. Prior to the establishment of the Parks and Trails Commission, all of those FRTP grants just kind of came through and mostly just went through the auditor's office. And so people have been used to their standard routines and such, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to have that consolidated. So yeah, it can be discussed at that Parks and Trails Commission one. I was a little surprised. I hadn't known that grant for the bicycle trail had even been going through, and it's just nice to be able to have that discussion at the Parks and Trails level. It's not mandated, but it certainly, more people are tuning in to those meetings to just hear what's going on with regards to the projects. And it also helps keep us in line with the comprehensive trails plan that we had adopted a couple of years ago as well. So yeah, we would like to see them go through while still maintaining Brady as the fiscal manager, of course.
Administrator Yorkie.
Yeah, I just want to mention the request from the Superior Cycling Association came through toward the end of last week. I was talking with them on Thursday, and they have in the past, as Tim points out, applied through the auditor's office. And so I agree. I mean, I think as part of our process moving forward, that's probably the better way to handle that. I do know that the Cycling Association's grant is due on the 26th of February. So I'm not sure there would be an opportunity to back up and go through that process this time. But I agree, moving forward, we should be doing that.
And I appreciate the insight there and the question, but and not to be too much of a stickler, the issue at hand here now is the Snowmobile Club Trails grant, not the cycling associations, but they are very, relevant. So it's good discussion, and we do want to have a better comprehensive picture of a Parks and Trails program, and as well as just the Parks and Trails in the county. So I think that's a better way. Yes, Director Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to put kind of a cap on that discussion, I'll make sure we get a letter going out to all of the user groups that are associated with those grants to just kind of suggest that they go ahead and go through the Parks and Trails. And you're correct in the fact that the Parks and Trails Commission generally meets only 6 times a year. And so deadlines with grant applications also play kind of a key role in that as well.
Good point. Thank you. All right. Good question, Commissioner Hawkins. Do we have any other questions? All right. In that case, I would ask for a motion to adopt the resolution for support.
I will make the motion to support the Snowmobile Club Trails Grant Resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there support?
Sullivan supports.
All right. I have Commissioner Sullivan in support. I did see you jump up there too, Commissioner Starley. Thank you. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Knutson, for joining us at the meeting too for the backup there. Thank you for your work on that.
Appreciate the support.
You bet.
Thank you.
Yep. And now we're moving on to Auditor Powers. First item is the airport project work order with RSNH.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is for the airport crack and seal coat project for the runway and for the apron, and they do some additional work on the apron itself with some markings and coating of that. Previously, the board has approved a federal grant for this project. This is just a basic maintenance and upkeep of that their runway that was part of the extension project a few years ago. So this is the first work on that project. This is the work order for RSNH to do the construction management and the design of the project. So their total cost is $33,250. The total project is going to be about $210,000. And so that has not been approved yet because they'll finish their design and then they manage the bid process, and then you'll have a contract later for the actual work. And we will get approval of the federal grant sometime in that area. We've already applied for it. It's considered a certainty. So we will get 90% from the FAA for this. The Airport Commission, when they met, they've had some contact with the state on this. They expect to get more CARES money for the airport, and it could cover the additional 10% of this. Otherwise, that would come out of our levy. We budget $20,000 for the levy, but hopefully that will be covered, some or all of it, by that CARES grant. The other possibility, the state always takes part in some of the grants. This is one where they choose, they may or may not. So that's another possibility for part of that 10% funding. They could decide to join this for 5%. Let's say if we didn't have all the CARES money. So that's another possibility. There's a lot of information here. I would think I would just leave it to questions at this time. And I believe Darren Christopher from RSNH was going to try and be on this call too, in case you had any detailed questions. He was on another Zoom, so he was going to try and jump over.
Yeah, thank you, Auditor Powers. I do see his name here. So if we do have some detailed questions, perhaps he'll be available. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
I'm wondering how often this maintenance is done at the airport. Is this a every 2-year project, every 3 years?
If Aaron is there, I would defer to him.
Sure, happy to answer the question. So no, it's about we're going to crack seal the apron, which was done about 6 to 7 years ago. And we're going to seal coat it as well. There's a few cracks starting to appear in the apron. We're also going to do a seal coat. You'll do a seal coat about every 5 to 7 years, depending on the pavements. And then the runway, which was just completed about 3 to 4 years ago, depending on which phase, there's some longitudinal cracks. So we're going to seal those cracks, and then we're going to crack seal and then seal coat and restripe the apron. So it helps preserve the pavements that have been reconstructed recently at the airport. And typically, if you can do some of this lower end maintenance, it decreases your larger life cycle costs and extends the life of the pavement significantly.
Did RS&H do this work for us last time?
Yes, we have a contract with the county. The FAA requires the airport to go out and do qualifications-based selection for these services, and we currently have that contract.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. And do we have any other questions from commissioners?
I would just say that our RS&H has been that contractor. They've been renewed at least a couple times since I've been auditor. So they've been doing it for at least during my period of time here.
Thank you, Auditor Powers. Yeah, yes, Commissioner Storley.
So when this repair work is done, then will that go out another 6 or 7 years for no need of maintenance again?
There's always some sort of continual maintenance. You could do maintenance every year. This helps just to extend the life, right? So the pavement's probably be about 5 years old. It'll be 10 years old then. At the 10-year mark, you might do something more substantial at the 10 and then at the 20-year mark. So the goal is to try to extend the life so you don't have to do a major rehabilitation at year like 15. If we do these periodic pavement maintenance projects, the seal coats, the crack seals, and spend the smaller amounts of money, probably about every 5 years or so, and then it'll extend that life out. You continue to do a project about every 5-6 years like this, and it helps extend that life and decrease the major projects where you have to shut the airport down for an extended period of time and have a larger capital project. So, but no, it's probably something to do about 5-ish years average. It could be could be 4 years, it could be 7 years. It all depends on the winter, the conditions, the freeze thaw cycles, how those are, and the movements of the pavements as well.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions here? Doesn't look like it. Therefore, I would look for a motion to approve the work order 2021-01. Commissioner Sullivan.
I move to approve the work order for RS&H for the engineering and construction for the crack seal and seal coat project.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. Is there a second?
Storley, support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Christopher, for joining us, and thank you, Brady, for bringing it forward here. Next on our agenda is item B under the auditor, Firewise coordinator vacancy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a coordinator, we call it a coordinator position. It's a hired position by contract that we've had since about 2012. The current coordinator, Todd Armbrister, just recently gave us his resignation to take another job. And so we'd like to refill this position, go out and advertise for it and contact other likely suppliers of people to do this type of work. Just a little bit of background. I put in a copy of our current service agreement with Todd, and I made some, just to give you an example, it's been typically a 2-year contract, and I just said, well, we'll go a year and whatever to get to the end of 2022, just to show you what that would look like. And I put a dollar figure in there based on discussions with Mike Keyport, who really supervises. I think Mike's in another meeting right now, but he really supervises. Okay, good. And Todd, and we talked about the position and what it might take to pay for this, and we put our best estimate in that contract, which is $30,000 a year. All of that is paid by 2 different types of funding sources. So first of all, one of the funding sources is federal grants, and that's what really spurred this position, probably the main thing. These large grants that the federal government pays us to do the large chunks of landowner land that is on the border with some of the forests that are the most endangered spots. Recently, those are, along the Gunflint largely and up the Caribou Trail. So the Forest Service decided they cannot do these types of projects because they involve citizens, and that we should do that. So they fund it, but we need to actually hire and coordinate and get this done. So that's probably the main thing that spurred this. But there's also the DNR grants that we get annually, 18-month grants for doing assessments and taking care of the brush work that everybody needs for cleaning up their properties and other types of work. So this is basically to give us authorization. This is not the contract that will necessarily come back to you. That was just an example, but give us authorization to go out and try to find other candidates.
Thank you, Auditor Powers. Emergency Management Director Mike Keyport, do you have anything to add at this point, or are you here in case we have some further questions?
Yeah, I would add that, it's been a good program. Todd has been with us since 2014. He's really brought this program to a very high level, probably one of the best in the state that have these type of programs. So losing him is huge for my program. And it is tricky having owned my own business for quite a number of years. It's tough to find that right person that can work from a home office and in the field. It's just tricky finding that person, and Todd has recommended, of course, that we, if possible, to find somebody with wildfire experience, because that's the type of information you would need to have. Todd, however, is very willing to work with us. He's going to hang on till the end of February here, and he's taking another job, but thinks he'll have time to keep the program going and is willing to help us train a new person. So that's the good news. But yeah, if the sooner we can get it out there that we're looking for somebody, the better. So.
Just to add, we've actually shared some of this work with Lake County. He's been the coordinator for both. And we're going to talk to Lake County, but it sounds like they have potentially the candidate who does not want to come to Cook County. So we may not be sharing that position again, for those of you that remember that. But some of the difficulty is you almost need either to have a home up here or a cabin or something, because they spend a fair amount of time out overseeing some of these projects, making sure that things are done. So they spend quite a bit of time here, and the kind of contract we have to keep the dollar amount down, we don't provide housing or anything like that, or even mileage. So everything they're getting is, to this point, is just paid through that contract amount that you see in there.
Right, and Todd also, when he spoke to Brady and I last week, that he said he's brought the program in Cook County to a level that it's almost too much to do Lake and Cook County. And, you know, you get the right young person, go getter in there that, you know, that they could easily fill the contract that we have in place, or around them dollar figures anyhow.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, and just hearing Director Keyport, what you're saying about the fire danger potential, watching the snow loads, and just the talk in the region, and we all know from the past how important this issue is as well. So it's critical that we get this position filled, and it is very unfortunate that we're losing Todd there. But I'm very, very pleased with the work that he's done, and he left us in a great spot. He really built it up, as you said. So
yeah, I did kind of see it coming. Todd had told me early on that he was kind of looking around. I was hoping to get through another summer season, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. I think the people in Cook County, especially up the trails, have come used to this program that we offer, and all the great information that comes with it. So, you know, to lose it would be tough, and it's one of them things that it'd be almost impossible for me to take on that kind of workload and continue on with my normal work duties. So,
yeah.
I'll add the other part that he does is these Firewise communities. So he's done a lot to pull together groups. Usually they're lake associations, or they're centered around lake associations. So then they end up doing a lot of this work themselves in promoting amongst themselves the Firewise practices, etc. And the work on doing that gets paid from the other source I forgot to mention is our Title III funds. This is our Secure Rural Schools. It's another federal grant, and we get a portion of it that we can use for search and rescue in the forest or for Firewise projects. And most of it's been used for Firewise projects, and it's for things like that community development.
I have a question, and it looks like maybe it's okay to ask it now. I'm wondering if, reading through these documents, federal documents need to be certified by February 1st. Who's responsible? Is that you, Mike, or is that the Firewise coordinator, or is that the auditor's office?
I'm sorry, Stacy, I had a radio blaring in my other ear here, so I didn't hear all of your question.
The federal grants need to be certified and filed with the government by February 1st. And I'm wondering which department is responsible for filing that, if that's the coordinator position or if it's your department, or how does that work?
Brady might have the better answer to that.
Yeah, we run it. It's through our department. We put in requests for funding, and Todd has actually brought that farther along than previous. He does a lot of the work now, like on applications for some of these federal grants. They have to get certified through the county for the Forest Service. They won't take a contractors. So he'll do a lot of the background work on it, but all of the final detail and certifications, et cetera, come through our office.
Thank you, Auditor Powers. And sorry, yeah, my screen froze, but I can hear everything still. Do we have more questions? Any other questions? I can't see anyone's screen moving, so please just speak up and I can call on you. but I don't hear anyone now. So I'll give it a second. Otherwise, yes, please.
I will make the motion to approve for the Firewise coordinator vacancy to hire.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Yeah, we have a motion on the table here. Is there a second?
Sullivan supports.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. Roll call vote. Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. It's unanimous approval. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Director Keyport and Auditor Powers.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we can fill those big shoes there.
So, should I just move ahead?
Yes, please, Auditor Powers, on to item C, application for bike trail grant.
Thanks. So this is a bike trail grant. The application is for Superior Cycling Association. The grant is directly to the Department of Natural Resources, but it's under the Federal Recreational Trail Program, asking us to act as fiscal agent for the grant, and then authorizing board chair and auditor to sign the grant contract. So this is a 25% match program, and the Superior Cycling Association will put $25,000 of its own funding into the project for that match requirement. So there'll be no county funds. We've done several of these with Superior Cycling Association, both for Pincushion, Britton Peak, and most lately was that connector trail between Britton Peak and Lutsen. So this one is to rehabilitate about 4 miles of the Pincushion Mountain bike trail system, including 3 trails if you bike: the Riff, the Talus, and Tilt-A-Whirl. So repair, restoration. It's been quite a while since that was built. So the work is needed for drainage, signage, etc.
All right, thank you.
Is there any questions?
Administrator Yorkie.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention we've got Phil Larson on the meeting today. He's part of the SCA, and he can answer any questions you may have about the project.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil, for joining us. Do any commissioners have any questions? I don't see any, but please speak up if so. Otherwise, look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. Is there support?
Sullivan supports.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you all. Thanks again, Phil, for bopping in for the potential questions. Yeah. Thank you, Brady. And then we have an item added pulled from our consent agenda, and that is, let's see here. It was C on the consent agenda. That's the audit engagement letter. My memory is Commissioner Hawkins wanted to discuss that a little bit. Did you have any specific questions, Commissioner Hawkins?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Mills. I know that the board previously decided not to go with the state auditors for next year, and I'm wondering, have we sent out requests for proposals for the next year's audit yet?
We have not, Madam Commissioner.
Do we have a time frame of when that might happen?
Yes, my time frame is soon. So in the next month or two. The work wouldn't begin until 2022, and I have assurances that if we're not happy with the results, oftentimes we're so out of the way that things that look good in other places don't turn out here, that if we're not happy with the responses we get, that with enough notice, the state will accept us again in 2022, in spite of having given them that notice. So I'd like to get started on that, creating the request for proposals this month and maybe have it out next month.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure, we were keeping up to date and not waiting too long to think about how we're going to deal with this. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of examples that I've pulled from other counties, but I just haven't had time to really look at them and scale them down to what we might look at. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Auditor Powers, and thank you, Commissioner Hawkins, for the good questions there. Do we have any other questions from anyone? Don't see anyone. Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the letter outline the services and the purpose.
I will make that motion that we approve by motion the letter for services from the State Auditor's Office for the 2020 audit.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there a second?
Sullivan seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. We have a motion and support. I will do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Storley?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you all, and thank you, Auditor Powers. I believe, Auditor Powers, that moves us beyond your segment of the agenda, though who knows, we might have questions for you as we go forward here too. That moves down to Administrator. Administrator Yorkie, would you like to start with updates, or would you like to start with the consent agenda item, or I'll leave that to you.
Why don't we go with the consent agenda item?
Okay. Yep. So this was on our consent agenda. This was item H, which was approve the hire of Nicholas Cusick for the Public Information Coordinator. Did you have a particular questions there, Commissioner Hawkins, or did you want to just hear more, or I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman Mills. I really have concerns about this. I realize this was decided by a previous board, but I think in light of our financial situation, the fact that our sales tax numbers are down, the fact that we already have positions where the job description is supposed to cover these. I read the communications plan policy over the weekend. I'm really concerned that we're adding another position instead of trying to figure out what can we do internally. And I really don't know what is not getting done. And that's why we need to hire this person. So I'd like to hear more about that. Specifics.
Yeah. It's hard to, you don't know what we don't know, right? It was approved by the last board, and this is a position, just going back a little ways, that was held by a previous emergency management director, as well as the public information officer. And then when our previous emergency management director left, it was decided to split that position out and have it be absorbed by our administrator. And so it, much like the attempt with the human resources director. So there was quite a lot of responsibilities packed into the administrator position, and after attending a session at AMC about, oh, what was it? Like reframing your county's image or something like that. It really hit the board. I'm not certain that I think at least 4 of 5 board members were at this particular breakout session, but it really hit us hard, the importance of a public information officer or coordinator is. But as you say, our county is really going through some growing pains, maybe, and you could say financial growing pains as well. How do we afford this? Is it worth it? What are the benefits? And now, then COVID hit, and that really upped the ante, I'd say, on the needs of getting more public information out there and coordinating how we do that within departments, across departments, and just as an organization as a whole. And so, the financial side of things is definitely something that was weighed and still is. One of the elements of this position that I'm proud of, and I really had very little to do with, is it being a shared position with Cook County and the hospital. We're always looking for efficiencies and how we can do things better, and that shared cost seemed like a really good way to approach this, both to balance the cost as well as meet the need. And so that's, I guess, just my perspective on where we've been and where the previous board thought we should go, and then adding the COVID element into it just kind of ramped it up. And it's hard to see maybe the benefits without looking at other counties and examples. And it's easy to see the costs, right? Like that jumps out at us. But as our organization develops into a more modern, professional, not that we haven't been in the past, but just as our county grows, we need to meet these demands, and that means our organization needs to develop as well. And so that's where I see this really coming through and really working for us. But Administrator Yorkey, I don't know if you would have more insight into that and just the process that you've gone through with this partnership with the hospital, and just concerns that were raised there, or just how you see the position playing out.
Sure. Well, first of all, Chairman Mills, I think you've explained a number of issues related to this position very well. We started discussing this partnership with North Shore Health last fall, and the conversation arose out of a recognition that we were beyond our capacity in terms of dealing with public communications around COVID. We had staff stretched really thin, Grace Bernager, Allison McIntyre, trying to get communications out about COVID, not to mention the other organizational communications that really didn't have time to do. And so the partnership with the hospital was an opportunity for us to, like you said, address those needs, and do so at a cost that would have been half that of creating a full-time position. And so, based on the board's approval of the creation of the position, we went ahead with recruitment, and obviously have now made an offer and had that offer accepted to a candidate who's scheduled to start Thursday next week. And so I agree with you. I think the need for this is very clear. The benefits of it will become apparent, I'm confident, when Nicholas starts. And it's going to enable us to do a lot of communications that we just haven't been able to do in the past around what county government does, why it's important, what the costs are, and what the benefits are. And we need to be communicating about that clearly. And so I think in my mind, the need for this position is very clear. It's very justifiable. And I'm excited that we're at a point now where we're going to be filling the position.
Thank you, Administrator Yorkie. Commissioner Storley, you were part of that conversation on our last board, and I don't know if you had any more insights into it. You've certainly been on the board longer than I have, and so you've got much more perspective going back too. Is there anything you would like to add around this?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think that the experience that that I witnessed with the previous public information coordinator was of the highest standards, because information really needs to be funneled to one person in case we have some type of emergency in the county. And right now our emergency is COVID, and you have tentacles going out of all different people handling all of that. And it's hard on them. It's been hard on our folks in the county who's been diligent, from Lisa Sorley to everyone else who has tried to put out information. And if we can just focus all of that into one person to be able to handle questions, the media, just different entities that need to know information about whatever is going on. I think that's why this position has been talked about and is now hopefully going to be part of our Cook County information coordinator position.
Yeah, that was well put too. The one thing I would add is and we've talked a little bit about this, I guess, at a personnel committee, is that it doesn't mean departments can't do their own communications, because there were concerns certainly about that. But the idea is to have more of a team communication effort going with, as you say, Commissioner Storley, that focus with that position, and really having as effective as a communication as we can with the position. So, but yep, the cost is real, and yes, the assessment error is certainly being felt. It does throw a wrench in kind of our larger picture financial situation, at least in my mind, and the longer picture plan. One thing I would like to, I guess, bring up though, and Commissioner Hawkins, this is something that I get questions about often, so I appreciate you bringing it up, is around that sales tax. Neither the sales tax nor the lodging tax actually does anything directly with our levy and how our operational budget is concerned. They are excellent indicators, and they do fund projects within the county, but as far as a direct line of dollars from sales tax to new positions, my understanding is that it is not there. So whereas those indicators certainly give an idea of what our taxpayers are feeling and experiencing, it's not quite a direct use of money. But that is a common thing that comes up. So
yeah, I understand the sales tax, okay. And I brought that up so that we make sure we're understanding. I personally know people struggling in this economy right now, and this would be one of the last things they think the county needs to work on. I mean, we know we have structurally deficient bridges, yet we want to do a logoing marketing campaign to tell our story. I don't believe that is as important as making sure we have roads and bridges and we fix the steps and the boilers and all the things that I've been learning about this last month that have been delayed maintenance. To me, that's more important. That's where the people that I talk to think the county needs to focus their attention. I do have one more question. So I was reading job descriptions, and we have 3 positions that I can think of off the top of my head that have public information in their job description. And I'm wondering, are those job descriptions going to be reevaluated and salaries, schedules adjusted because we're taking that out of their job description?
Well, one of those folks is April Zimmer, and she currently has some public communications responsibilities. Her position has been split between being the assistant to the board and to my office, and also helping with human resources responsibilities. And that set of duties has grown beyond the point where it's actually one position. It's more like a position and a half right now. And so, yes, we are tailoring her job description to rebalance it so that she's not spending, so that she actually has the opportunity to complete the work that she has to get done. And in this position, we'll add horsepower in that area so that she's not having to focus on those responsibilities.
And yeah, you bring up excellent points, Commissioner Hawkins, and excellent concerns. And you know, it was not a easy decision, but I feel like it was a solid decision. And you know, it doesn't have to be an either-or situation. It doesn't have to be this position or some bridges and roads. You know, it doesn't have to be the boilers or the bridges and the roads. You know, we have to do it all. And we need to do as much as we can with the limited resources we have. And I truly believe sharing this position with North Shore Health is going to give us a really good bang for the buck, and it's going to do much like the deferred maintenance costs that are adding up. This is a deferred organizational development that has come up, and I think that it's going to benefit us greatly. But I guess we'll see how the vote pans out here, and or time will tell too. So, Administrator Yorkie.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to add is, you know, to the extent that there's a perception that this is just about marketing and branding, that's not really the way I see it. It's really more about making sure that we're communicating effectively with the community on those very important issues, Commissioner Hawkins, that you just mentioned. Being able to have an effective communications campaign around the deficiency of our bridges so that people understand the problem and know what we're doing to address it. That's the kind of thing that I see this position addressing. And so I think that's central to the work that we do. We have to be communicating with our constituents about the work that we're doing. They need to understand what the problems are that we face as a county and the steps that the organization is taking to address those problems. And I think that's really central to what this position is about. And if we don't have it, then we can't effectively communicate about that.
Yeah. Other positions, and it is a good point about the job descriptions too, Commissioner Hawkins, because that was brought up at a personnel committee, and HR Pam Dixon is going through many job descriptions continually, and it's a process. And as we go through negotiations, that also brings up some other asks with job descriptions and whatnot. And so it's not job descriptions aren't stagnant, and they are reevaluated and looked at and hopefully more regularly and scheduled. So I think as time goes on, if adjustments are needed, we certainly can. And if there's particular ones that you think we should look at more directly sooner at the personnel committee, I think that's worth bringing up, and personnel committee can take a look at those. just to see how this all pans out. So there will be some shifts, but I do think it'll be for our benefit. Commissioner Sullivan, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment that I appreciate the coordinated effort for communication, and I really like the idea of meeting the communication needs that we have, but also balancing the cost or sharing that cost. And I really appreciate the effort that went into that.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawkins, do you have more questions?
I don't have more questions, but I just would like to comment that I get we're in a pandemic. I get everybody had extra work to do. Hopefully, we're on the tail end of this, and I see us creating a position forever that maybe wasn't quite necessary outside this pandemic. We just needed to restructure, go back to our communications plan, and make sure that was working the way we wanted it to work. So I have no problem with this person that you made the job offer to, but I really do have a problem with making another new position in the county at this time. This position.
Well, thank you. And this is maybe a technicality. I believe that the position has already been created, but it just has not yet been filled. And that action was done by the previous board. And so that it's kind of a, I don't think good faith is the right term there, but I feel very lucky that we found an excellent candidate, and I know from my limited business experience that if you find a good person, you fill it, and we do need to keep our eyes on the ball here as far as our costs are concerned, as far as how our organization is developing. So I sincerely appreciate the concerns of creating new positions and growing unnecessarily, but I do believe it was a needed move, and I'm very happy to move on that. That was a pun, I guess, but I'll make the motion to approve the hire of Nicholas Cusick as the Public Information Coordinator. Is there a second?
Sullivan seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Mills is aye. Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Nay.
Commissioner Storley?
Aye.
Thank you. We have 3 ayes and 1 nay. The motion is approved. And welcome aboard, Nicholas Cusick. Thank you. Scrolling back down to the administrator. Now we have administrator updates as your first item, Administrator Yorkie.
All right. Well, just a few things. I just wanted to let you all know that we have come to a decision on awards for the Minnesota Business Relief Program. This is funding that Cook County received from the state in the amount of $256,250. I worked with Mary Somnus from the EDA, Jim Boyd from the Chamber, and Pat Campanero to review over 100 proposals that we received for business assistance funding. We had a maximum grant award of $7,500, and we awarded approximately 40 businesses some level of grant funding. We did this in a tiered approach where the top scoring proposals received the full amount requested, which in most cases was $7,500. we had a second tier of proposals that received 90% of requested funding. And then we had a third tier that received 70% of requested funding. And that enabled us to provide help to about 40 businesses across Cook County. And I should mention too, these businesses are not just in Grand Marais, they're in Grand Portage, they're at the West End, and they're up the Gunflint Trail too. So really looking to kind of spread those dollars throughout the community, and a variety of businesses too, from larger businesses to including restaurants and those kinds of things, to sole proprietorships. So the other thing to mention is we really made an effort, and this was part of the legislative intent behind this funding, was to provide assistance to businesses that had not previously received either CARES funding or other kinds of business funding that's been available over the last year. So trying to make those dollars go out into the community and help businesses that hadn't received help previously. And I feel like we did a really good job of that. I'm really excited about the opportunity to provide this assistance to the local business community. And the award letters, I believe, started going out Friday. And I think the EDA is actually going to be cutting checks this week. So that money is going to be going to those businesses very soon. The other thing I should mention is we had until March 15th to make awards. And from what I'm seeing from other counties, we're ahead of the game. So we acted very expeditiously to get the dollars out. And very happy about that. And again, really want to thank Mary, Jim, and Pat for their assistance in getting these dollars out so quickly. The other thing I wanted to mention, I did present at the, I believe it was the December Committee of the Whole meeting on efforts to create a strategic plan for the organization. And we have convened a team of folks that will be meeting for the first time Friday to review documents that have been that were created in the last iteration of our efforts to work on a strategic plan. And we're going to be using that as the basis for our work moving forward. And the goal is to have a strategic plan to present to you all by the end of this year. And we're going to be getting input from lots of staff on this. And in fact, a lot of the work that was done previously did include a lot of staff engagement. And that's really important because these folks know their jobs far better than I do or the department directors do. And so it's really important to have meaningful input from all levels of the organization. So that is moving forward. And that's pretty much it for general updates. Still continue to participate in a lot of meetings. I see later on our agenda, we're going to be having another meeting of the Joint Powers Group Thursday evening to talk about housing issues. And we're going to have folks from Minnesota Housing Partnership presenting at that meeting. So there's a lot going on, and despite the pandemic, still able to meet lots of folks virtually and just keeping very busy.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Administrator Yorkie regarding his updates or anything else for that matter? Commissioner Hawkins.
Yes, thank you, Administrator Yorkie. I'm just wondering who's in the meeting on Friday? Who's the leaders of this strategic planning group?
It's department directors. At the last management team meeting, I asked for volunteers to assist in kind of just starting the process again. And again, I expect that as we move forward, we're going to be engaging staff from other levels of the organization as well. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Right. Moving on down the agenda then. Item B, Laurentian Resource Conservation and Development Request for Annual Dues.
Yes, and this is one that I presented at or discussed at the last meeting, and just wanted to make copies of the request available for you all to consider. I believe we had supported this organization in the past. I don't think we did so the last time that they requested assistance. And so just wanted to ask for feedback on whether or not to fulfill the request.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Well, since this board in January of 2020 and the Soil and Water Board in 2020 decided not to support this, unless there's really good reason for us to give a donation to them, I would make the motion to deny this request.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second it, but I want to have some discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Starley. We have a motion and support, and please go ahead, Commissioner Starley, with discussion.
Yes, thank you. I did talk to former Commissioner Bersheim about this group and and the next one too, Heart of the Continent. I really feel that the previous meetings that he attended were very, very far and few between. And he really felt that right now the position of attending these meetings were probably nil. And until we get through what we're already dealing with in the county, there probably would not be any effort on our part to join the Laurentian group at this time.
Thank you for that perspective. It helps having past commissioners and comment on their previous roles, just so we can get better perspective.
Right.
Any other discussion there? Hearing and seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hawkins?
To deny the request, aye.
Thank you. That is the motion, yes. Commissioner Starley?
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. We have unanimous approval to deny the request. Moving on to the next item, the Heart of the Continent request for annual dues. And Administrator Yorkie, did you want to say anything further on that one?
No, I don't really have anything to add. The letter is pretty self-explanatory. And I think the dynamics that Commissioner Storley was talking about probably apply here as well. I don't know that there's going to be any in-person meetings of this group anytime real soon. I think Auditor Powers is no longer on the meeting, but I believe that we did actually approve this request the last time around. But that does not mean that we need to do so this time.
I did do some follow-up with former Commissioner Dukirk, and she indicated that there had been support, and Sue Hakes had also participated with this organization. But because of COVID, there had been very infrequent meetings over the last year. It seemed that the partnership and our support was more in the area of geotourism and supporting dark sky movements or initiatives.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. Is there any other? Yes, is this Auditor Powers?
Yeah, I lost my Zoom. I couldn't get back on, so I called. But just to let you know, we paid those dues last year, as was stated about a year ago, $250, and that's as far back as I can see. That's what we paid. Just information.
Thank you, Auditor Powers. Commissioner Starley, did you say that you had conversations about this item as well?
Yes, I did. And you know, it's kind of like it's really more maybe of a tourism promoted type thing, and so there was not a lot of enthusiasm, let me put it that way, from a county support.
Thank you, Commissioner Starley. That helps with the perspective again. All right, well, how would the board like to proceed here?
Make the motion to deny joining the Heart of the Continent and paying the annual dues.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a motion to deny. Is there support?
Sterling support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We have a motion and a second. Do a roll. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hawkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Storley,
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Nay.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. The motion to deny is approved with a 3-1 vote. And I think that brings us down to employee concerns, commissioner concerns. First item would be commissioner reports. Does anyone have anything they'd like to report on? Commissioner Hawkins.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta find my notes. I just wanted to say that I got an opportunity to go tour the Arrowhead Juvenile Center, very informative, so I can learn about my role there on ARC. And one thing that came out of that tour is that I think we need to, if we can, advocate as a board, Zoom meetings for hearings. We would like those to continue. It really helps them dealing with youth, dealing with the court, being housed in facilities. They're not doing 4-hour travels anymore back to their home counties for a court case that maybe lasts 5-10 minutes. So that was one thing I came away with there. So
beyond the pandemic, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
That there have been some good things we've all learned as we've gone through this pandemic. The other one that I wanted to mention is N Club had another meeting, and right now they are working on a proposal to try to get the state to pay, to adjust their funding for state PILT. Really don't know what their odds are of making that happen, but potentially using their numbers, it could benefit Cook County by $900,000. So they're good thing. Don't know, I really have doubts of how far that will go, but there's something positive that maybe can come out of this. So I just want to report on those two things.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Very, very, very good points. I feel the same way about the telepresence or Zoom meetings or teleconferencing. There's incredible benefits and potential for rural areas to participate in more of these regional meetings and to keep our costs lower for all that travel time. And it's just our time. We can't get our time back. It's a lot of windshield time. And then, yeah, just to hear about the kids too, having to do for such a short trial, that it seems like there are options, or there should be options to deal with that are more practical. So I'm not sure how we'd go about doing that, but I think having a discussion with Attorney Hicken when she's available would be a great start. And I don't know if Administrator Yorkie, if you can help facilitate that, or maybe inquire on our behalf about ways we can either investigate our options or paths forward, or what is restricting us or inhibiting us and beyond the pandemic in doing this. But
I will follow up with her to find that out.
Thank you. Yeah, on a somewhat related note, Commissioner Hawkins and board, I took the opportunity to be a part of a discussion on the opioid settlements and just substance use and abuse, and how the impacts of the counties, and one of the questions they had was about the telepresence and for support groups. And I know that it does not have as much weight as an in-person meeting. I mean, we all know that, like a support group doesn't. But again, treatment options in rural America, rural Minnesota, rural Cook County, whatever, could be expanded if there's more of that either funded or a better system for it. And so they asked about that, and I just kind of told them about the discussions we're having at the Arrowhead Health Alliance about the need for more telemedicine and around mental health, and how there's not like a state standard system, and there's a lot of struggles and costs with having different system subscriptions. And there was a little pushback because when you have a statewide system, say like MNLARS, there's potential for a statewide problem as well. So I think that was a good point, not that we want to design a system that has problems, but just that there is that potential. So I think there's a lot of benefits in there, and also some hurdles that we'll need to work through. But that goes a little bit beyond the juvenile facility. But I think we can apply it to all of our meetings. So any other commissioners have reports that they'd like to give? Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Well, I attended a CCLEP meeting, and they were talking about some large-scale solar generation with battery storage. But the part that most piqued my interest was a discussion that they're going to have a upcoming builders workshop, and we'll be talking about grant opportunities for the use of air source heat pumps. And that might intersect really well with our discussion about HRAs. And so I found that really interesting. And attended Firewise. And again, the biggest news was that Tom Armbruster is leaving us, and we have those big shoes to fill. And then I attended the regular meeting of Soil and Water, and there was quite a bit of discussion about stormwater projects and a real close look at the culvert inventory, which dovetails with our county highway and bridge needs, and just really re-emphasize the work we need to do on our infrastructure. And lastly, I just want to thank Rena Rogers for spending a lot of time talking about MIS and explaining in detail her department, and also Mary Somnus, who has worked really hard to provide some special sessions for those of us that are new to the EDA. And we really feel like we're getting a lot of valuable information to prepare us for our work.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. Say, as far as the CCLEP stuff goes, do you happen to know what type of batteries they were talking about?
I do not know. It was a pretty extensive battery storage plan that they were looking for their large scale solar, but they were also talking about using that with homeowners in the future who are installing solar.
Interesting. And then I'm not at all familiar with an air source heat pump. Can you clue me in there at all, or should I contact them?
I actually have got some documents I can forward to you. I haven't read them all yet, but there's a lot of information about, there's two types of air source heat pumps, and one works really well. This is the new type in colder climates. So that's where we want to do our research.
Interesting. Thank you. All right. Anyone else have any questions or anything further to report on? Okay. Meeting updates. It's probably mostly covered, although I do think we should have that meetings to note. I suppose it's worth mentioning that I really appreciate everyone attending the AMC Government 101, both commissioners newly elected, as well as the people running for the District 1 seat. It was just really great that we could all attend that and get the same information coming our way, and and get on a similar page there. And I was pleased. I mean, it was a repeat almost of our annual conference, but I was really pleased with the speaker just working on the issue of trust and how important that is in an organization. And I think the more we learn about that and hear about that, the better. So otherwise, we do have our Zoom joint powers meeting. I'm sorry, I hear something.
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Storley.
Thank
Yes.
you. Well, when we were organizing our different boards and commissions and committees, at the end of all that, we discussed maybe somebody should be on the census and someone probably with Visit Cook County. And so I went ahead with that one. And then I had contact with Maggie from Visit Cook County. And that is open for everyone, for all the commissioners. No designation needed there, because one of the things they do to recognize the business folks is they have a gala once or twice a year. They usually have one big one. Not this year, nor last year, but in the future, hopefully they'll have one. And then I said, well, send me your meeting dates. And she did. And most of them are on a Tuesday, but it just so happens that tomorrow they're having one on a Wednesday. So that's why I had Administrator Yorkie forward all of that info to you. So if any of you want to attend, you have the Zoom meeting ID and passcode. And so it'll be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And I just mentioned, because of our commitments, obviously with the board, we would attend here and there when we could. So when we're all full board, then I'll have her send just a notification to everyone in case we all have time to visit Cook County. Wanted to let you know that.
Thank you very much. So to be attending tomorrow?
I plan to, yes. Yes, I plan to.
And Commissioner Sullivan or Commissioner Hawkins, do you have interest in attending as well, or are you free? It looked like that was an affirmative from Commissioner Sullivan, although.
I have a conflict at that time, so I will not be attending.
Thank you for clarifying. Commissioner Hawkins, are you? Okay.
Have a conflict at that time tomorrow.
Yep. Thank you very much. I may be able to attend. I do have another meeting scheduled, but I don't think they'll overlap. So I just wanted to ask about the potential of a quorum there. So thank you for clarifying that. All right. Well, thank you for that, Commissioner Storley. And so, yes, other meetings to note is the Zoom Joint Powers meeting, which, to be clear, there is no Joint Powers agreement for this Joint Powers group. It's just a name only. And that is Thursday, February 11th at 5:30. The Zoom link is on the agenda. There are also toll-free numbers to use for the telephone if someone would like to participate, attend and observe, or however they choose to be there. Also, the AMC County Government 101 virtual training continues on February 17th and March 17th. So hopefully we'll all be able to attend that as well and keep working with our board development there. Appreciate everyone participating in that. So otherwise, we have correspondence and memos, and we move on to, unless someone would like to go over the memos or correspondence at all, I'd go on to the recognition of staff. Hires, we have Britta Moose, the sheriff technician, and then Nicholas Cusick, public information coordinator. So Britta is not new to the county here by any means, but welcome into your new position, and welcome Nicholas into your position. And then resignations, Jonathan Bauman, deputy, with regrets, of course, to lose a good worker from our staff. February anniversaries, Tim Nelson, Land Services, 22 years. Is that even possible? Yes. Apparently so. Gary Fagerman, Sheriff, 1 year. Kathy Ann Travis, PHHS, 2 years. Sarah Schoonover, PHHS, 3 years. And that, I think, does it all there. Thank you all for working for Cook County, and really appreciate your service, and hope there are many more years to come for you here. Unless there is anything else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Commissioner Storley, do we have support?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Hawkins, thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Storley,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills is aye as well. Unanimous approval to adjourn. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sun, even though it is cold, and we'll talk soon.
Keep